everybody, to Bats and Stats presented by ScoutTheStatline.com. Myself, as always, I am Brian, and I am with my partner in crime, as always, Mr. Ross R. Jensen. Ross, what do you think, brother? How are we doing tonight?
Good, man. As good as I always am, I guess.
Good. Let's get into the best part of the pod.
Okay.
Beers of the pod, my friends. I got a new beer tonight. New beer from Bitterroot Brewing here in Montana, and it does have a little thing that I'll read. It's Montana made. It is Bitterroot Brewing, I believe, is in Missoula, Hamilton, Montana, so just outside Missoula. Here's the can. Montana never ceases to amaze me on the labels. But this is called Drop Bar. And Drop Bar is a natural blood orange flavored ale. And the little tidbit on there is treat your palate with a citrusy, smooth, effortless ride. Break off on the pavement and take the path less traveled. So blood orange. I like blood orange. Do you ever dive into the blood orange side of things?
Yeah, on occasion. I haven't had a whole lot of them lately, but yes, I have had my fair share of blood orange whatevers. Usually wheats or pales.
Oh, it's gonna stop. Nice. Smells good. It's got a good smell.
Little sipper. Still got the tag on the bottom of that glass.
It's the way I like it.
Gonna return it after the show.
Yeah, no doubt. It's definitely got the citrus peel flavor in it. The blood orange is on the far back side. It doesn't taste like beer. That's why I'm kind of taken aback by it.
What are you getting from it? Kind of like a gose or something, a little fruitier.
No, it's very the rind of an orange. That's exactly what it tastes like, is the rind of an orange, and kind of smoky. So it's an interesting flavor. It's good. It's just it tastes like the rind of an orange.
Gosh, I don't know. The rind of an orange plus smoky doesn't sound good to me.
Have you ever? So I cook quite a bit. I like cooking, and have you ever flavored something with the rind, like lemon peel or orange, and then cook it, and then it's got that charred flavor of a lemon zest or lemon or orange zest? That's exactly what it tastes like. Now, I'm guessing that's in the brewing process as it gets warm and chars it. It's good, but I don't know. I can't make a determination on that. It's I do like it. It's just it's off putting in a beer.
Interesting. Interesting. So you're not endorsing this one. Not a full endorsement. You got to be in the right mood.
I got five more of them to drink. I mean, we'll get there. I'll give you a full.
Okay, so this one's a throwback. If you remember, one of our early pods, we did Delirium Tremens as the beer of the pod for me. And delirium tremens are when you're having terrible, I don't know, nightmares and withdrawals from alcohol.
Sure.
Okay, so this is delirium nocturnum. I don't have any special insight on what delirium nocturnum means, but I can give you what it says in the description here. On the label, it says, well, I looked at a couple of these. I had them in cans too, but it said the dark side of delirium. So that made me think it was a darker beer, but it's described on here as a Belgian ale, so that's not super dark. Here's what it has to say. And it's in this like kind of ceramic bottle, so you can't.
It's a great bottle.
Yeah.
It's a great bottle.
So it says here, Color and sight: dark brown red, a compact white yellow, stable and lacing head. Scent: touches of caramel, mocha, and chocolate. Spices such as licorice and coriander are also present. I gotta give myself a pour to get properly get the smells. Let's see if I can do that right this time.
While you're doing that pour, I did notice on the label that it's a pink elephant, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that came to mind from my childhood or our childhood would be Snuffleupagus and Woozles or very confusals from Winnie the Pooh.
I thought you said Winnie the Pooh last time too. I thought this was a
Did I
dumb.
really?
Yeah,
No, no, that was Winnie the Pooh. That was Snuffleupagus, and he's eating the honey out of yeah. He was
it
like
doesn't
on
make you
full on
think of
crack.
like elephants on parade, parade. I mean, that's
I
that's the
can't believe you.
obvious one. Come on.
I can't believe you don't remember the Snuffleupagus and Woozles.
I can't believe you didn't think of Dumbo immediately.
No, and with the delirium, that's what he's going into like a honey coma, which probably signified crack back in the '60s.
I wonder what the kids are going to say about us when we're old. I mean, they're
Yeah,
already saying it, I guess.
that tag on the bottom is not a good look. I can't believe I didn't pull that off.
Okay, so it says in the smell there's licorice and coriander, caramel mocha. You can definitely pick up on those. I taste a lot of the licorice in the beer, like a black licorice sort of flavor, which is a polarizing flavor, but it works all right in this beer. Actually, I think this is pretty good. Here's what they say: their description. Initially, a very good mouthfeel of alcohol and softness. I didn't pick up on a lot of alcohol on the tip of the tongue, but I get what they're saying with the softness. This was followed by an increasing bitterness, partially from the hop, but also from the roasted malt and chocolate malt. You definitely pick up on the chocolate malt. Towards the end, a nice balance between bitterness, sour, and sweet. I would agree with that. Overall, I say this is a pretty good beer. I'm enjoying it.
Man, I just don't understand how you can drink that kind of beer. I can't go down that dark beer alley.
It's pretty solid. There's a lot going on in this.
That's like Jack the Ripper alley, man.
I think that's what I can appreciate as a with a dark beer is you get a lot of complex sort of flavors that come out.
I
Now I don't
suppose.
want that all the time. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. If I'm hanging out and I just want a good drinker, my go-to is a pale ale. But for the pod we get something special. So
That's right. We do this for you guys.
that's right. Okay, moving on.
Let's go
Oh,
to
hey,
the.
before we
Oh,
hop into the whole pod, I just want to say I am working my tail off trying to bring forward these new updates because they're going to be really good, and we have been making I've been making really good progress on some of those changes. It's a team effort. I don't want to make it sound like that, but I'm the one that ultimately has to prep it to go live. So putting a lot of good work in there, and I'm excited. I think we're gonna have something really great.
are you going to make your deadline of the 25th?
Gonna make it on the 25th. Do or die. I mean, we can do it. I'm going for ideal state, right? There's there's a lot of stuff I'm trying to push through at one time by the end of the 25th, have ready to go by the 26th. But if it all, if it's not a possibility, then will still be able to push out the upgraded model. It just would mean more extra ongoing work for me.
Sure.
So I'm trying to simplify it as much as possible.
Love it, man. I keep putting in that good work because I know I enjoy it. I am as even being a part of STS. I'm not behind the scenes. I'm not doing articles as of right now, but I certainly plan on doing articles in the future. Right now, my biggest contribution is my gift of gab. But as a fan of STS, keep putting up the good work, man. You guys are doing great, every single one of you. And I wish I had a list in front of me right now. I would name everybody from Pitcher Diggs to Ryan Can't Write to everybody. I just wish I had a whole list. I apologize, I only did those two.
Emerson, Joe,
Yeah,
Cup of Joe,
yeah,
Tom Hubel with Tom Talks. All these guys
yeah,
are critical, and I mean but it takes all walks, right? And that includes the people on the other side, the users, the people that interact with us and ask us questions and talk with us. That's what it takes to build a community. And at the end of the day, that's really what we want to do, is build a really great community of people that are looking at fantasy from a little bit different of a perspective and having as much success and fun as possible as a result of that. That's the goal, right? That's what we want to achieve with this. And so, I mean, I gotta say, I'm super appreciative of what you do here on the podcast, because without you, this wouldn't exist. And
yeah.
so, I mean, it's a part of this whole picture.
Sorry, this fly was just driving me nuts here.
And like, the behind the scenes stuff is interesting, but it's also like a lot of work. Like, nobody needs to concern themselves with all the details back there. I just know we're going to get it better. I mean, we're going to get all this stuff dialed in at some point. It's just kind of right now, you can only eat a pink elephant one bite at a time.
Huffalump.
I don't know.
It's a Huffalump.
Huffalump. Yeah. You were thinking of the Huffalumps.
Huffalumps and woozles.
Okay, so I gotta deviate just briefly. I watched I can't even think of what it's called, this Winnie the Pooh horror flick that came out not too long ago. That was a terrible movie.
I'm sure it was. I've seen.
I think it was called Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey.
Yeah, I've seen the trailers for it. I can't believe you actually watched it.
I did. Just thought it would be fun.
And we could probably go off on a tangent in the pod of movies that we've recently seen, because I know I watch some things that just like, why did I do that? I mean, going back to our childhood, how about Killer Clowns from Outer Space? Like, I watch that all the time.
Oh yeah, that's a great one. That's great. Okay, but that's not what we're here for.
We're here for baseball. And let's get into it. Let's get into some baseball stuff. And Ross did throw out a quick comment on the Discord that we have for the Dynasty Gurus and STS followers alike. He wanted to, just check out what everybody wanted to hear about. And a big shout out was for some surprise September call-ups. So I compiled just a quick list of some guys that, could be surprises, could be like, there's no way. So let's run through them. Let's talk about these September call-ups that I kind of compiled here. We'll kind of have a back and forth. Obviously, if you have a couple to add, we can talk about them as well. But let's start off with the number one prospect in all of Major League, Jackson Holliday. Does he have any kind of a slim chance of getting called up? If the Orioles push, is there a chance?
I'm saying no.
I don't think so either.
I don't think that there's really any chance. I mean, you got to give him some bit of probability that it happens. Maybe 5%. Can't be very high because it's not going to happen for a lot of reasons. It would be so cool if it did. I would love it. I would love it if we saw Jackson Holliday surprise call up. But he's also 19, really in his first professional season, even though he's in the minor league ranks. So it's his first professional full season. He's in Double-A. He's not spent that much time there. I mean, he's got a good chunk of change there now at this point in the season, but you don't see that very often. Like sometimes you get the Juan Soto sort of a sense. I mean, Juan Soto was a different beast altogether. Like there was no stopping that from happening. It was absurd. Even Jackson Holiday with the astounding numbers he's putting up, it's I don't think he's pushing that realm where it's like you got to do it. Um, Another reason, the Orioles, they got a ton of infielders. They don't
Yeah.
really have much need to bring in Jackson Holiday, even if they're pushing for the playoffs. In fact, they would probably rather let him continue to grow in the minor leagues right
Yeah.
now, because even as great of a talent as he is, he's probably going to have some struggles as a 19-year-old coming into the major leagues. So,
And I said that as kind of a, I don't know, kind of a foreshadowing thing that I wanted to talk about as we, dived into it a little bit. If they're in the massive hunt and they're really going to go at it, why would you throw a 19-year-old in there? They have everything going for them right now, and you're just going to, I guess, to put butts in the seats. No, that's not going to happen. So I think this is a 0% chance that Holiday gets the call up. And then you start talking about at bats and service time and stuff like that. And yeah, I don't think there's any chance that Holiday gets the call up
right.
at all. Yeah, I just don't see it. I kind of took about 4 or 5 prospects off the Orioles list because as I was compiling this list, it was going to be all Orioles. Because when I started going through the STS number, there's just a lot of Orioles at the top of the list. So I just kind of stopped. And I wanted to do Holiday because I think everybody kind of, they want to know the opinion. Is there any chance? There's no chance. I think I do. I think it is a 0% chance that Holiday gets called up.
I mean, I guess I'm one that's never going to give a 0% to anything, right?
Yeah.
Even if I'm very staunchly like against it, or I don't think it's going to happen, I'm still going to say that there's probably some probability there. So me saying 5% is saying basically 0 to
Yeah.
5%. How about that?
Okay. That's fair. So there's our take on that. Next one, obviously, we're going to jump right back into the Orioles. And like I said, this could have been like 10 Orioles that we could have just talked about. But Heston Kjerstad. This one, I think, is a little bit more of a probability. I think this is like a 50-50 because Mullins, if he just can't quite stay healthy for a push. Kirkstad, I hope I say that right.
Kjerstad.
Kjerstad. I think he has a chance to be up in the majors for a playoff push as at least a bench bat, but could be more because Mullins can't quite be ready for it.
I'd agree with you. I'd put the chances at seeing Kjerstad over 50%, probably like 70%.
That's pretty high.
Pretty high. It's time. I mean, it's time to see what he can do. This guy was a former #1 pick, or was it number 2?
3, I think.
Number 2.
2. Okay.
Number 2 pick. It's time for them to for us to be able to see what he can do in the major leagues, and for the Orioles to give him a shot. He's 24 years old, so it's time.
Okay. So we're going 70. We'll split the difference. We'll say 60%. 60% chance that he gets called up. I like that one. I think you're probably leaning towards the right direction that, yeah, there's a really good chance. Let's see it. And let's see it in September. Yep. Next one, PCA. Pete Crow Armstrong. One of my favorite prospects in all of MLB. Pete Crow Armstrong, I've been all high on the whole time. I think the thing that holds him back the most is the Mets have nothing to play for.
So,
could be a benefit.
I mean, I agree with you. What are we talking about? What's your probability? You think he's getting out?
I don't. I'm trying to put myself in a mind of a major league manager or GM. What's the benefit for PCA getting called up? The benefit is he starts seeing major league at bats. He's ready for next season.
Maybe energize
They're going to
the fan base
start
a
making
little
the
bit.
what's that?
Maybe energize the fan base a little bit.
Yeah, get excited for something. So I like there's so many positives on one side, but then the other side is once again the financials with service time, at bats, all that stuff, and then is he even ready to see major league pitching? I think he is. I could be wrong on that. I'm not a scout, but the stats are there.
Yeah, I recently reconfigured my top 100 list, and I did move PCA into my top 10.
Ooh.
That's that's telling a lot, for me personally. But I don't think he's going to get the call this year. I'm gonna
I,
say very limited chance, probably about 25%.
I had a sinking feeling as well. I want to put a 50-50 chance on this that, that maybe they will, but I just have this sinking feeling that it's just not the right time.
I also think it's not the right time. I think they would
Yeah.
be better off to let him. He could be a guy
Stu.
that's up to start next year. I mean, I think he's that close, but uh, yeah, I don't think he's quite ready. And I
Yeah.
think it wouldn't make much sense for the Mets to try to push him right now. Let him continue to hit AAA right now and see show what he can do. You
Yeah.
know?
No, I like it. I feel the same way. And once again, it's just one of those gut feelings. It's just like a sinking feeling that I just don't think he'll get called up. I wish he would. But let's move on to the next one. The next one, and I think this is going to be a fun one. Tyler Black.
I'm gonna say we don't see Tyler Black this year. I think he's kind of fallen in the same boat as
PCA.
PC, as as in I think it would be cool to see him up, but I think they're gonna keep him down one more year. Let him continue to hone his craft, and he could be a guy that's up by. He's probably not a start the season guy next year, but he'd be up early.
Couple months, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
I want this one. And so the Brewers lost one of my favorite prospects that I held on to firmly in Luis Urias. He was somebody that I thought was going to be an absolute cornerstone in my lineup. Now that he's moved on, this makes Tyler Black a little bit more. And Luis Urias, he is with Boston now. Tyler Black, I'm going to give this a 60% chance.
Wow, that's really high. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go about 25 again. Here's my thing. If he was up in AAA and he was smashing right now, I would be much higher on that. But I think as of right now, it, it sucks to even say he struggled because I mean his sample size is so small, and
yeah.
there are things that he's doing really well as well. So I don't want to say that, but it's usually those guys that they move up a level and they're just impacting the ball immediately that you see getting those end of season call ups. So if he's not going into it hot, I don't see him doing it.
Isn't he the perfect person to throw on your bench though in September? Like he can play second base, maybe a little bit of short, and then all outfield positions he can play. And that's why I give it a 60% chance because I think he can just be a super utility, and he doesn't have to get 20 at bats while he's called up for a month. It just kind of seeing how the dugout plays, no big deal.
Yeah, I mean, you could even say like off the bench speed. You know,
Yeah,
you're right. I do see that viewpoint. Makes a lot of sense to me. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. So that's why I'm going to give that one a 60% chance. Ross is wrong. Let's go to the next one, and Colt Keith.
Okay, if you asked me this like a month ago, I would have said 70% chance, 75% chance. I'm saying 35% chance now. For the same reason that I said with Tyler Black. He's slumping a little bit right now. He was swinging a really hot bat. If he was swinging that hot bat right now, I think he'd be up in the major leagues. They might give him he's a higher chance to me because they might just want to give him some exposure. Just see what he's made of, you know?
Okay.
What do you think? What do you got on Cole Keith? I know you love this guy. You want to be up. But what's your realistic take?
My realistic take on this one, and this is because I'm a fan of the Tigers. We got Miggy going through his swan song, the see you laters, and all that stuff. So they're trying to get Miggy as many at bats as possible, just for exposure, so all the fans can cheer him on. I watched the Boston game the other night. It was going to be the last time that Miggy is in Boston, and they just gave him a standing ovation, and it was awesome. It was really cool. Like they made him tip his hat, and it was great. So for that reason, the Tigers still have a chance to make the playoffs, but in my mind, they have no chance. They have no chance, and it's gonna flip to a complete younger generation next year. But for Miggy, they're not going to go that route yet, if that makes any sense. So I give this like a 50-50. And the only reason I say 50-50 is because they could pull it out and let Colt Keith be around Miggy, to say this is what a Hall of Famer looks like.
Yeah, kind of like the ushering out the old, bringing in the new sort of.
Yeah.
Just a slightly off topic comment. Miguel Cabrera was probably one of my top 5 favorite baseball players in the last 20 years. So I love Miguel Cabrera. He was awesome.
He's not the reason I'm a Tigers fan, but he's the reason that I stayed a Tigers fan. Like before, I was always a Tigers fan. I was like, yeah, I really like Detroit.
Yeah.
But he's the reason that I stuck around.
I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sad day. Miggy Cabrera, man, come on the podcast. That would be awesome.
Are you kidding me? We could crush some beers together. Come on.
Oh, well, I don't think he would. I don't think he drinks anymore.
Think he cleaned up his act completely?
I believe he did.
Huh.
Yeah, I believe he did. So yeah, this podcast wouldn't be for me. I did have.
I would still love to have him. Come on,
absolutely.
I would drink a juice box on that episode.
I would drink milk. But as a funny comment, somebody asked me, and I think it was during the off season. Somebody asked me if you could go golfing with a trio of major leaguers, who would it be? And like Miggy was at the top of the list because I was like, dude, we could crush beers, golf all day long, and just have a great time. The other one was he plays for the Tampa, or he did play for the Tampa Bay Rays. He's got a really funny laugh. Anyways, let's move on. I can't remember how it went, but once I do remember it, we'll put it on the podcast. I just can't remember what it was. It was hilarious, though. All right, next one. Jonathan Aranda, Tampa Bay Rays.
Well, okay. My take is he should be up already, but
Yeah.
it's the Rays we're talking about.
Yep.
So it's really hard to say. They didn't trade him. They clearly they like the talent enough. Uh, the defense is a sticking point when it comes to this ball club, just because they got so many options. I mean, that's when you really start focusing, honing in on defense. Is when you got a lot of good options. So why
Yeah.
not focus on the guys that are going to extract some more wins out defensively speaking? And Aranda's not really bringing that to the table. So that's a challenge. Then we got this Wander Franco situation going on. So
Yeah.
there might be some jostling. You got Carson Williams moving up to AAA. That was a really interesting, kind of bizarre move from high A to AAA. I'm not making much out of that right now. I think it's just a temporary thing. He'll probably go back down, probably to AA or something. Caminero, of course, knocking on the door, but I don't think that they have a place to fit those guys. So I'm gonna say we see a cup of coffee. We see a cup of coffee because they just got all this stuff going on.
Yeah.
But I'm not convinced he's going to get regular playing time. Unfortunately, I wish he would because the guy deserves a shot somewhere.
So Mead was playing first base. Am I correct? Or some first base?
Let's see.
I
Me,
think Curtis Mead was playing some first base.
he played. Mead was Mead played third base.
Third base.
Yeah, which is what I expect. That was his
So
preference.
Diaz was playing strictly first base.
Yeah, I think he's been playing mostly first this year.
Okay.
So that one kind of makes sense to me. They're going to have an interesting situation.
Yeah.
Like, who are they going to put in the corner? Caminero might be a corner guy early in his career, but maybe he's their first baseman eventually too. So they got to figure that out. They got a lot. They got a glut of talent, man.
My thoughts on this is 100% call up. 100% in my mind, Aranda is going to get called up in September. He's going to play third. Diaz will be at first, and Mead will take Wander's spot or flip flop whoever was at second, which would have been.
I can't see Mead playing shortstop, but
Okay, well, he can play second.
possibly, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Or Aranda too. I mean, if he's playing third, they probably keep him at third, and Aranda goes to second. If anything,
I've heard that Aranda's got pretty bad defensive capabilities, so maybe he pushes Diaz over to third and Aranda plays first. But I feel, and this is only on off days and stuff like that. This isn't a full time gig. I'm just saying that this is 100% call up that Aranda gets some play time because of the distraction that we have with Wander right now.
well, he's already been up a little bit this year, so
Yeah.
it's going to be a huge
Yeah.
shock to see him up again. He was playing first base and DH.
Yeah, and I've heard that the defense is not pretty, but that bat is slick.
I think they got a few of those guys.
Well, that's why Manzardo's gone. To be honest.
Somebody had to go.
All right, next one.
We need to go too, to be honest.
Yeah. Next one. We got to mention him. We got to mention him because I think this is our biggest prospect shout out that we've had the whole time. Nobody was talking about him. Nobody was talking about him. But me and Ross sat here and told you guys, go get him. Go get Wade Meckler. Here he is. He's called up to the Giants. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about Wade Meckler. Get the mustache is playing in San Francisco.
So, like, I mean, I gotta say, he got called up yesterday, and we talked about this a little bit, but it was all smiles, man, cheek to cheek. Like, I was excited about that. That was fun. So I sent out like 4 or 5 tweets just about Wade Meckler because I was excited about that. What a meteoric ascent! I mean,
From A ball, to the
yeah,
major leagues in one season.
and he deserves it. The guy's hitting ridiculously. He has been every step along the way. And he's had his doubters every step along the way. And I can really, truly appreciate that about him. Fantasy wise, like, of course, we're still not saying this guy is going to change the game for you,
Yeah.
you know, but this guy can help you out if you're in a deeper league and you need an outfielder. I'm picking him up all sorts of places, man. I've got Meckler all over the place. Except for in our home league because you nabbed him in the draft.
I traded him too.
You did trade? Oh, I forgot that. Jeez, missed that. Jeez, what are
Yeah.
you doing? Oh,
I needed Sonny Gray.
Well, anyway, Meckler, I love seeing him up. Last I saw, and we're recording this tonight, and he's playing. So last I saw, he hadn't gotten a hit yet. Struck out a couple times.
Well, let him get those jitters out, man. Like,
I really do feel like Meckler has got some.
yeah.
He's got like a little burning passion in him and a little fire. I think he's going to be a pretty solid player. Now, we got to talk about the range of outcomes here because there are a lot of range of outcomes. I throw out Wade Boggs because I'm always like, it's Wade Boggs Meckler. Like, he's the man. He's got the mustache. Like, he's got a 380 minor league batting average. Not even Wade Boggs had that. So, he's insane from that standpoint. But we've seen other talents come through more recently that didn't turn out, that hit similar to Meckler. And when I say similar, they hit like 348 or something like that. Not quite 380, but pretty good. And those are like the Adam Eatons, right? That's the range of outcome, in my opinion. That's the range of outcome from Wade Boggs to, unless we see some power development, then we're talking about a totally different beast. But Wade Boggs, right now, it looks like Wade Boggs to Adam Eaton. And I think if you're getting Adam Eaton, that guy's worth being a top 50 prospect. I don't care. The rankers are doing it wrong if they're not putting that caliber of a player in the top 50, because everybody below that is going to do worse. You're not getting that many guys coming into the major leagues making a huge impact every single year. So that's just my perspective on it. Wade Meckler is the man. He's going to have a successful major league career. Is he going to set the world on fire? I don't know. I just hope so.
Yeah.
That's my stance. That's my Meckler spiel.
My spiel. Let me give you my mustache spiel here. And Ross hates this. Ross does not like that I'm doing this. And I've told him multiple times that if Wade Meckler is Brandon Nimmo, dude, I am so freaking happy. Brandon Nemo's a great baseball player. He's a great baseball player. Okay, good to great baseball player. If Meckler turns out to be Nimmo, man, I'm not going to do the podcast anymore. I'm just going to walk away and be like, well, I'm retiring.
Well, why not? Like, you might as well be Adam Eaton. I don't. Why?
Oh yeah. Well, but it's different comps for different folks. Okay. Now, if he's more than Brandon Nimmo, I'm moving up to the mountains, and nobody will ever hear from me again.
Really strange things, no matter what. Here,
I love Meckler, man. I love Meckler. That guy's gonna be so good. But
Yeah,
I think Nemo is a really good comp. But Nemo's got speed and Nemo's got power. And I don't know how we're going to get there with Meckler.
that's exactly why I don't understand that
Yeah.
comp. I mean,
Yeah.
and he's going to hit better, I think.
Oh,
Um,
yeah. Well, Nemo batted 300.
there's potential though. Like I've seen him. Like I've watched some film on him, and I'm going to get a little scouty here. I've watched some film on Meckler, and he doesn't have like
No.
he's not a slap hitter, man. He's not dinking the ball around. He's got some juice there.
Yeah.
So there is, in my opinion, potential for another level there. And I've seen him running the bases. You know, the guy's not slow. He's
Not
not
at
slow.
all. He's very athletic.
So I mean, I'm just saying. I think that there's another level there. I said this for years with Luis Ariz without like just kind of blindly saying it, you know. And I've seen him now. Like he's up to like 5 home runs or something like that on the year. He's not going to be that guy. I don't think he's going to unlock another home run hitting
Yes, he is.
range within him. You think arises?
Yep. I said this in one of our
I've been
hometown
watching some of
podcasts.
these home run shots, and it's like that's not a guy that's swinging a feather. He's
No.
he's impacting the ball, you know.
Yeah.
So that's totally in there. It's totally in there for Meckler. Not just a Luis Ariz, but maybe even a little bit more. He had 5 home runs in the minor leagues. It's not like he was a total, you know, I don't know,
Chump.
no white rag. What I don't know, a feather, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call it. Like he can impact the ball.
I think Arise has got another the level to it. And I told you this in another podcast that once Jazz gets settled into that lineup and he can stay healthy, I think Arise can start swinging a little bit harder. Right now, he's just getting on base and doing exactly what the Marlins want him to do. I think Arise can hit 10 home runs in a season, and it's not going to be a shocker.
Well, there are okay. So, do you know what Wade Boggs's single season career high in home runs is?
Was it 17?
24.
Oh, okay.
And it was kind of this anomaly. He didn't really get that close to it anywhere else in his career. But if you have a guy that's hitting like 370 and he's got 24 bombs, that guy is going to help you win
Oh,
your fantasy league.
yeah.
That's nuts. You want that. Like you're not going to get that every season, but you're going to get reliable production.
Yeah.
And then while everybody else is fawning over these guys that are boom and bust, and they come up and they're flashing the pans like they're hot, and then all of a sudden they're gone. They're just gone, or they're sent back to the minor leagues because it's like, wow, they got a 60 WRC plus, and they're not helping our team. They're actually hurting our team. We're gonna send them back down to the minor leagues. You got like it happens every single year where you have large swaths of these players that everybody's really excited about, and they just do that. And then meanwhile, you get these guys that come in that it's like you're going to get something that's very consistent and it's going to be helpful. It's not always going to be league winning, but you got other guys on your team too, man.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if you've been listening to this podcast, you got Jackson Holiday too. And he's going to be the guy that's bringing home the titles while Meckler is helping you maybe even set another level.
On the backside. Yeah.
Right. So, like, this is exactly what it's all about. Exactly what it's all about, in my opinion. So,
Meckler's one of my guys. And we've mentioned this a few times. Ross will get the superstars, and I will find that the everyday major leaguers. Meckler is an everyday major leaguer
but he's
with
got
the potential of being way more.
he's got some potential for some flash, right? Because there's something interesting there.
Yeah, but he's an everyday major leaguer. Now with Meckler, the reason that I bring him up is our next September call-up, Vaughn Brown. And I almost hold these two guys like right next to each other. Meckler and Von Braun. And I don't mean that Von Braun's as good as Meckler. I mean that they're almost like tied to the hip. Von Braun's got some talent, man. And I think this is, well, with Meckler getting the call up, I'll give this a 70% chance that Von Braun gets called up as well.
Okay, I hate to do this. I got to be that
Zero.
guy.
You got his zero.
I'm going to be the wet towel guy. I'm giving him a 10% chance. And I'm also saying I don't know if he's going to make it.
Really?
Yeah, really. And I want to be clear about this. Von Braun was one of those guys that was a riser on STS. And I got a lot of people saying, and I did tweet about him occasionally, I want all these guys to be successes. I really do. But I got a lot of people saying like, "Oh, what about your boy Von Braun?" It's like, well, wait a second. Like, you got to listen to my opinions on him, which we have a video out there, player eval on Von Braun, where I very explicitly said, and I'm telling you right now, I do not believe he will make it.
I do.
That was last year, and I'm sorry to say that because I want him to. I want him to be a success, but he's hitting now 221 in Double A. He's struggling a lot, and it's because of those strikeouts. Yeah. I mean, that was what we highlighted as his red flag last year. Huge strikeouts that he was piling up. And he's fallen quite a bit in STS. So he had moved up a lot, and like that's a name. Like, people were interested because there was power, there was speed, way too many strikeouts. And I can tell you this, when we upgrade our data model, he's probably not going to ever see the same heights that he did like end of last year, beginning of this year, and that's for the same reason, because we've added in some probability of a guy making the major leagues based on age level information and some other factors, so we've gotten a little bit smarter, all very sound from a research perspective, but it's being added in there, and a guy like Von Braun probably would not be seen as highly. I'm glad he did pop up there, because regardless of how this guy's career goes, he came into the minor leagues and smashed things.
Yeah.
Smashed things. And that's worth being proud of,
I'm all about letting somebody try to figure it out. I'm all about it. Von Braun is not figuring it out right now, right, but I think he can.
But he's 25 years old. And that's where the probability comes in, though. Yeah. Now you're 25 years old and you're in Double A. You're facing more advanced pitching, and you're struggling mightily. So your probability of being a major league player is significantly lower than somebody that's 20 struggling in Double A, right? So, I mean, these are just I guess these are the researched points, the data science kind of backing, but I hope he does. I really do. I hope he does. I hope he smashes it. But I'm saying, you asked me my opinion, so I got to be honest about it. I'm going to give it 10%.
Bummer. Real bummer. Okay. Next one. Let's move on to the next one. Next one we have is Chase Meadroth. This is an interesting case.
Yeah. I'm going to go pretty low with him too. I'm going to go 30%.
30%.
Yeah. And similar, he's putting together a pretty solid season. 21-year-old in Double A, not struggling quite as badly as Von Braun right now. Not that that's fair to say. But enough to where he's going to need another season.
Another season for Meadroth. I thought with the Boston stuff, I thought maybe he could gain some traction in September. This is one that I would probably put at I don't know, 40%. 40% chance that he gets called up to the big leagues. And I put that on it as we need an injection in Boston.
Hmm.
Okay, well, neither one of us see Meadroth getting called the call up. I don't I want it, but I just don't see it.
I do too, and this might be one that we whiffed on. You know,
Yeah.
I want to give him some more time, but it's not looking as promising as it did early in the season. Just being honest, forthright.
And the next one and the last one that I have, Xavier Edwards, and I know you threw a tweet out there like, are you buying? Are you selling? What are you doing with Xavier Edwards right now? So that's why I put it on here. What do you think?
Oh, he's gonna be back in the major leagues because he was already in the
Yeah,
major leagues, and I think he's figured something out, man.
yeah,
I think this new style of play is totally up his alley. And that's what it's coming down to. We're going to see a lot more of these kind of high average guys that are
yeah.
that are not, home run hitters. It's not just a home run hitting game anymore. And he's been absurd this year. He's absurd. This is by far the best year he's ever had in his career. He's hitting 374 and he's actually impacting the ball. He's got 6 home runs. If we're saying Wade Meckler can do it, we have to be fair
Yeah.
saying that Xavier Edwards can do the same kind of thing. So, I mean, walk to strikeout ratio is insane. 21 strikeouts and 46 walks. Like,
Pretty nasty.
yeah, I'd be assigning the same value as I would to Meckler to Edwards. That's the value I think that you should be assigning to him. And we love Meckler. We love Meckler because he was one of our guys. Let's be honest about it. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you are valuing him, you should also be looking at Xavier Edwards.
So call up certainty. What do you got for percentage?
100%. Okay, so a guy that I want to talk about because I had touted him early in the season as a surprise. Most people weren't thinking this at the beginning of the year. Evan Carter. I had picked him as a late season call up surprise. And I got to say right now, I don't feel like things are looking very promising for that. So I'm going to give it a 30%.
Tough on a Texas team for Evan Carter to get the call up. And he's probably close to being deserving. He's number 3 in the model in STS. Superstar at bat. I just don't see it breaking through in that Texas lineup.
Well, and a challenge also, like I've mentioned with other guys, is he's not swinging a hot bat right now. You got to be
Yeah.
swinging a hot bat to get that call. The incentive for a major league team to bring in a guy that's struggling to hit double A is pretty low if they're clubbing it. So I'm saddened to say I moved Carter down a couple spots in my rankings recently because while I was willing to give a buy for the injury, he came out and he was super hot at the beginning of the year. Then it's like injury, he was gone. He came back struggling. That's all, that's part of the game. And so I was willing to give him a buy there. And then he started swinging a hot bat again. And it was kind of like, see, told you so. And then, of course, he's cooled off. So,
he needs another year of seasoning. The Josh Young injury helps him with the call up, but not in the way that Texas is rolling right now. I think they would rather bring up a AAA guy that is a little bit more seasoned than Evan Carter. Although I would love to see Evan Carter come up.
Yeah, me too. But he's got to start swinging a hot
Yeah.
bat, I think.
Yeah, he's got about 15 days left, and he's got to be a complete smoke show.
Yeah.
And I only say that about girls. I mean, he needs to be a smoke show.
Well, that's what's interesting about the baseball season is like I feel like this is the point in the season where most fantasy players, I'm speaking specifically about fantasy, they start getting like they start checking out. You know, maybe it's because football is around the corner, whatever the reasons, but these are the times that you really want to be keyed in. I think when everybody is checking out, you start keying in because if you're in a league where you can still add guys, you're going to find these guys right now. Or if you're in a league where I don't know, you for whatever reason you're prepping for your FYPD next year, you want to know who's hot at the end of the season. It's a little easier doing that because you can just check into the lists and see what everybody says later on. But I still think it's important and valuable. I just noticed this in leagues where you can churn. People are checked out by this time. I'm usually
Yeah.
some sneaky.
Well, just for our league, we're already in playoffs, so half the league's already done. Um, Evan Carter, even in a redraft league for next year, it's certainly something that you'd be keeping an eye on because he could start the year in the pros,
Yep.
even if he doesn't get the September call up.
If he's coming in, yeah. It's all just dependent for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what we're talking about, keeping your eye on it, rather than half your league is done already. Keep watching, keep looking, keep digging, keep finding.
Agreed, 100%.
And that's what we're going to do all off season. We're going to be right here for you, digging, finding.
Man, remember that last off season? We're going to be doing it. We're not sleeping, man.
Yeah, you want the next Meckler? I'll tell you in January.
Yeah, or any of the other dozens of breakouts that we talked about all off season.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not.
So those are our September call ups. Agree, disagree. We gave you some percentages. I think they were fun. I think they were pretty good. I do have two guys that I want to do a spotlight on, and I'm curious to hear what Ross says about these two guys because these are a couple more names that I don't hear anybody talking about. They are around. They're just not, somebody that's chanting their names. Once again, I don't know why this keeps happening, but it's just one of those things. They're both speed guys. And let's jump into the first one. The first one in the spotlight is going to be Jacob Marcy. And Jacob Marcy is a 22-year-old. He plays for the San Diego Padres. He was drafted in round 6, pick 180 overall out of Central Michigan. He's 6 foot tall, 180 pounds, and his stats in his career look like this. He has 479 at bats, 127 hits, 13 home runs, 265 average, on base percentage of 419, and has stolen 56 bags. In those 56 bags, he's stolen 41 of them this year in A+ at 22 years old. He's only been caught 9 times. Everybody open your eyes to Jacob Marcy because this isn't, nobody's talking about this, and I'm stunned that nobody is. That on-base percentage of 416 is legit.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else on Marcy?
Well, here's something interesting. He's never been a power hitter.
No.
But he's got 11 home runs on the year. That's interesting. He does. He's 22 years old. So there's some growth potential already there that's worth queuing into. More walks than strikeouts. I love that. My concern with the profile and tons of speed, clearly tons of speed. My concern with the profile is that he's a little old for high A. So
a little bit. Yep.
So I want to see it at higher levels, but that's promising. He's not giving a lot of average, which is interesting, and I'm kind of curious about that because it looks like he was a little more complete hitter in college, but and he's barely 22. So yeah, I think he's somebody you open your eyes to because the overall package looks appealing. I just want
Yeah,
to see high levels. I'm looking for validation on this guy.
yeah. Well, that's what the spotlight's for. This
Yeah.
is a sexy profile. The age doesn't agree with the affiliate, but this is somebody that you open your eyes to and start really taking a look at. Like Marcy might want to go get this guy,
Yeah,
or put him at the end of your queue next year because nobody else is going to know him.
for sure. Is this the prospect highlight today or the speed highlight?
God, I might have to turn it into the speed highlight because that's all I do is do speed.
Right. You
The
just
next one's going to even be even more incredible, and then maybe that's just the day and age that we live in right now with speed for the year, because the next one's going to blow your mind. But yeah, Jacob Marcy, please, everybody, keep your eyes on this San Diego Padre because man, I see a rocket ship on this one. I do.
it's an interesting profile. It certainly is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody keep your eyes on Jacob Marcy. That one's God, sexy is a great word for it. The next one. The next one, this is so you're gonna like the age. He's 22 years old. He's already in double A. But this is gonna be Victor Scott the second. And he's 5'10", 190 pounds. He went to college in West Virginia. He was drafted in the fifth round, pick 157 overall. But check these stats out, Ross. This year, he's in double A. He's got 148 at bats there, but he also played in high A, had 266 at bats. Overall, during the season, he hit 295, had an on base percentage of 367. He stole 74 bags and only got caught 9 times. 74 bags and only got caught 9 times. He also hit 4 home runs, 9 triples, and 12 doubles. I don't know how you can beat this one apart.
Well, it's insane speed. It's insane speed. I think the bat is not like it's not like it's poor, but it's not like it doesn't scream superstar. If you asked me to tear it apart, so I am.
He batted 318 in double A at 22 years
He's
old.
been very solid. Yeah, I know. I'm doing my best, Brian. Here, come on. 4 home runs. So the power is not power is not extreme. The stolen bait, like he's clearly super fast. Victor Scott, he's been running all year. Game changing speed, no doubt.
Even in a normal
because
year,
these are between these two guys, they're very close to me. Like, who are you taking? You're taking Victor Scott?
clearly Victor Scott. We're talking about double A numbers with a 318 average.
But okay,
At
so
only 22 years old.
I mean, if you're playing an OBP league, Marcy's like he's rocking 412 OBP.
Yeah, he's rocking the strike zone. He knows exactly where that ball is.
And a little more power. So like, I think it all comes down to how does this speed translate? He's gonna steal bags. There's no doubt about it. But that's a lot of stolen bases.
It's a lot.
But Marcy's also got a lot of stolen bases too.
He does, yeah.
A little extra in the power department, a little more plate discipline,
Mm-hmm.
a little better OBP.
How do you translate 9 triples? How do you translate 9 triple hits? Like those can turn into to home runs instantly, right?
Honestly, I don't know that triples
Or
correlate
doubles?
real well
Okay.
to home runs. Doubles, I think, do better because
Yeah.
usually those are gapper shots or deeper shots. Your triples are usually like, it's something funky down the line. Like, I don't know.
Bounced oddly off the wall. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just don't know. I don't know any science behind that, but that's my gut feel based on watching baseball. So,
Okay. So with this, I think the second, Victor Dwayne Scott the second is a go get him like right now.
I actually really like that you highlighted this Marcy guy because I'm intrigued and I want to know. I want to dig a little deeper. I want to know more about Marcy.
So you're just discounting Scott.
No, I'm not
You just
discounting.
you love Marcy now.
No, I'm not discounting Scott. He's been on my radar for a bit, but Marcy, I hadn't been thinking about as much, but now as I'm looking at it, I'm interested in that.
I think yeah, I think both of them.
Both of them are very
Marcy
interesting. Yep.
Marcy's a tick below Scott just because of the age and the level. But I love the walk to strikeout percentage. Looks great. He's still in a lot of bags, and he's got decent power.
Yeah, love it. A couple good players to check out.
Yeah, those are two guys
Marcy,
that I,
Victor.
I want. I want everybody to go check out those two players. And man, if they fit your profile, I don't know why I'm running into so many stolen bases lately. It's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles.
Game has changed. Game has changed.
Yeah. Well, or players have changed. Maybe we got just a bunch of
Well,
speed guys coming through the
both,
systems.
but the game has changed to facilitate that, and they're playing
Yeah.
to the way that the game is designed. That's my feel on the matter. And so there's going to be more stolen bases. There's going to be more contact hitters, which means maybe you should pay attention to those contact guys.
Yeah. I might just be getting lucky on throwing you guys some gems right now.
Yeah.
Hey, hey,
Hey,
listen to STS. That's what I got for the two spotlights this week. Last thing or not last thing, but our next segment that I want to throw out there. And this came from the Discord. And I want to make this very clear that I didn't think that there was any comparison between these two gentlemen. I thought it was clear one way. I have recently, tonight, decided that maybe it's a little bit closer than what I thought it was, and that is Dylan Cruz versus Langford in the draft. I thought it was clear that Dylan Cruz was better. I might not be as smart as I thought it was, which happens a lot during the day. But Wyatt Langford might be one hell of a closer comp than to Dylan Cruz than I thought it was.
well, I mean, I'd say they're different players, but
Yeah,
I would throw this out there in any given draft. Our 1, 2, 3, 4
all could have been first round
probably
picks.
could have been number ones,
Yep.
which I think is special because I don't think that most years. And in fact, sometimes some years when it seems like you have a clear number one, they draft somebody else, and it's like you guys are idiots. The guy sitting on the sideline is saying that, while they're like testing these guys out. Not that I would know, but I guess my take on this one is more so about the undertones, the undercarriage of that conversation that I'm interested in talking about. So here's my thought on Langford and Cruz. I've long thought that Cruz was one of the better college hitting prospects coming out in decades. I'm not changing my opinion on that. Is Langford comparable or as good or better than Cruz? He could be. He could be. I won't discount that, but I'm not ready to make that like adjustment or statement based on the sample that we've seen so far, which is very small. Langford has, I think, as a minor leaguer so far, been better, but it's close. It's close. I think he's still been better. So I want to see a larger sample before I'm jumping to conclusions on that, because I think Cruz was a serious collegiate talent. That's my take on Langford and Cruz. I have Cruz ranked number 3. Is he number 3? I think I have him ranked number 3. And Jackson Chourio is ranked number 4. I have one spot above Jackson Chourio, which means I think he's an insane talent.
Yeah.
Wyatt Langford, I have at number 10. So I have him in my top 10. I think he's a really good prospect. What do you think? Before we get into the undercarriage or whatever the topic of conversation that this is.
Well, like I stated before, I thought it was clear that Dylan Cruz was better. As I started looking at it, as a few people in the Discord that we are a part of have started pointing out, it's a lot closer than I could have realized with Langford. I still don't discount Cruz because of this conversation. Cruz, I believe, was like my number 6 prospect. And Langford was top 15, probably closer to 15 than I don't move that because I had like Colt Keith in there, some players that I really, really love. And Langford's just a step below those guys. So the conversation, or my mind hasn't changed, but the conversation has changed because I didn't look as deep into Langford as I probably should have. It's still not. It still hasn't swayed me to say that Langford's better than Cruz, but it could in the future, if that makes any sense. I think that was a bunch of jumbled up stuff to say that I still think that Cruz is better than Langford.
So I'm with you. But undertones of the conversation were about what makes these guys, or what makes people think that Langford should be above Cruz, right?
And there's a lot, and that's what surprised me. There's a lot of people that say that Langford's better than Cruz.
Well, and I gotta give a shout out James Anderson, who's lead analyst at RotoWire, really smart guy, somebody that I respect. He always had Langford.
Yeah.
He always did, and I'm okay with that. Everybody's got their own opinion on this stuff. For me, Cruz was like this uber talent coming out of college. So like I'm sticking with my guns on that. I had him number 1. I got him above Skeens. I'm sticking with that until they show me otherwise. Then I'll make adjustments. That's what I do. I adjust. I'm not somebody that's set in stone with this stuff. I think it puts you at a disadvantage if you are. But the undercarriage of this was this conversation about age and experience. And I guess a very fundamental, foundational element of STS is age to level factor. As you get older, you get better. That's just the way it is. Well, so what was introduced in that conversation was that, well, Langford is newer to baseball. So he's got a greater incline, you know, to go on. And while I agree with like there is an exponential growth in your talent when you're learning a new sport, I guess what I don't agree with is that that follows the age level curve, or that is some part of it. I don't think that every swing you take means that you're growing on this age level curve. Like it's not based on your physical maturity, it's based on your amount of swings you've taken. I don't believe that, because I think in my life I've been told this a lot. I've been told this a lot about how this player is polished and he's a finished product, and this player is raw, so he's going to be better, because he has to learn the game and learn how to do these things. And it's like that's not how it works. People just get better. You could be a polished product, but you still have maturation to go through. This is my perspective, that it's about your physicality and your ability to see things, and your physiological components help you improve in your game. Now, clearly, like, the amount of swings you take matters, but I don't think that Langford is like not taking a shit ton of swings every day. Like, I think they both are. I assume the same, and I don't know any different, so why would I make an assumption to say otherwise? They're both practicing their craft. And if they're not, we need data to prove it in order to accurately place those guys. But you put them on that curve based on like their physical maturity. That's the way that I view it, and that's where I diverge, I guess, from a lot of the crowd. Because what I got in retort was like, well, you got to take all this stuff into consideration. It's this, and they've seen less balls thrown them, and they practice less. So, they haven't learned the game as much. It's like, okay, those are all could be's. They're maybes. They're possibilities. And my statement back is like, well, is there any actual science to back that, though? Is there science saying, and when I say science, I mean data science, backing that the amount of balls, not that we could track this to begin with, but the amount of balls you've seen pitched to you somehow leads to a trajectory? I'm sure there is. It passes the smell test. That's what I had said. Like, it passes the smell test. But can you actually link it? Can you link it? And if you can't link it, then why are we even trying? Because the physiology is pretty well linked. We have these aging curves, and we know there's an impact there. I've heard big time analysts say that age to level doesn't matter. They're wrong. There's science behind it. So how can you say it doesn't matter? This is the area that I've come in this, I don't know, in this game, I guess, fantasy baseball, and been successful because I've adhered to these rules. So if you stop adhering to the rules, then what are you going to? I try to take the guessing out of the game as much as I can. If you take the guessing out of the game, you will find success. That's my opinion. That's my take on the matter. That was a really long rant.
Yeah, it was. And that's okay. But that's what we have for the podcast tonight, guys. Next up, and I do want to put a big next up on this, because I think this is going to be a good predecessor to this podcast. We're going to dive into some DSL darlings. Some DSL darlings, or players that haven't quite made the model on STS. So we're going to do some assortment, and maybe, well, I know that we are, but we're going to talk about in manual Tejada. Just throw that out there. Somebody that isn't on the leaderboard yet. And then we're going to talk about some other guys that are in the DSL, some numbers that are eye popping that I'd love to see them. I love to see the huge stats and stuff in the DSL, but we want to try to break these guys down and say that 400 average, maybe it's not as good as you think it is. Just a little bit of a teaser for the next pod. With that, guys, that's our pod for the night. This is Bats and Stats. We'll talk to you all soon.